So, with really helping people understand why and what can get them into meditation, well, how would you do what's the first step of doing meditation, I would say?
Yeah, the honestly, the first part and the hardest part is just getting into a state that meditation is mm, I wouldn't say possible, but just more easy. It's just being able to relax the body and let the mind flow free and constantly you have a couple different choices. You can either go into meditation with an exact thought or you can just be mindful and let things come to you. But the idea is to just let your brain flow free, let go of past issues, let go of future problems you see coming, and just be in the now moment.
And being in the present is really the main focus of how meditation can really stop the ego from getting into its sense of play, as they like to say. And I want to describe to the listener what the ego is. Just a quick explanation because we keep talking about it, and I feel like some people don't really have a good understanding of what the ego could really be. Do you have a good summary of what the ego is?
For me, the way I learned about it from like the Buddhist monks is how they describe you have your ego and you have your spiritual side. And the ego is something you are always comfortable with, but can't live without and you can't eliminate. And it's important to have ego as well as your spiritual side, but it pictures the ego as a circle and it just keeps going around and around and around, infinitely. And that's what your ego is. It is complacent in its spot. It likes where you are now. It doesn't seek to improve. It doesn't seek to get worse. It just wants to be where it is. But your spiritual is described as a spiral, and you are slowly getting bigger as you go around the circle. It is never ending. You are continuing to grow. You are getting bigger, and it's important to balance these two together.
For me, what the ego is I call it the thinker, the voice inside your head, the person telling you to do different things, the the question maker. And so with the ego, it's really important to understand how to stop it from pushing you to positions where you don't want to be. So the way that I try to help people understand what the ego is try to think about something and allow the ego to go into this sort of play with it. And that's what the ego is. It's the voice that really wants you to continue trying to have the conversations, trying to push you into places where it feels comfortable and takes you away from experiences that you don't really want to try. And new experiences for the ego is kind of what, as they say, it's kind of, it goes into this defense mechanism where it doesn't want you to because it's not sure of it. It's never experienced things like that. And what you need to do with the ego is you need it to stop thinking. And that's the hardest thing, I think. Meditation really is, in my focus and in my opinion, is shutting the ego off and allowing free flow and free thought come in without any motivation to think, any feeling to think, and your emotions are kind of like set to the side as well. You don't really feel anything, but you feel this peace of mind, which is the most beautiful thing I think
Yeah,
I've
it's
ever
that's just
experienced.
the hardest part because after that goes out of the way, that's when you can really start meditating.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part for people. I feel like it's easily relatable to the gym. You don't go to the gym for one day and you have massive gains. It
100%.
takes years.
It takes time, it takes experiences, it takes a lot of self-awareness, and that's what we want you, the viewer and the listener, to understand is how to gain self-awareness and how to stop the ego from thinking, I would say, right?
Yeah, and it like brings me back to a conversation we had before where you said that everybody needs that kind of balance of their ego in their life. So to you, like what would be the right amount? Because I know meditation in general is just a balance of your ego and the negatives and the positives of it. For you, like, how would you say would be like, what would you call too much of suppressing that ego, and what would be too much of not doing that? Because obviously, it also depends on the type of life that you want to live. Like you can be like a monk, or you could be uh, a hermit just living out and about, and you don't really have the same values of life as other people. Whereas like somebody who's trying to fit into today's society, are just out in the open world with each other, communicating with each other. Like how can they bring that balance in? What's too much? What's too little?
I think so. Let's start with extremes on both sides. The extreme side of full meditation and full self awareness with no ego is kind of what a life a monk lives, right? A Buddhist lives. They live in very in these temples where they all they do is meditate. They bring a lot of self-awareness, they bring a lot of focus. There's a lot of other things that they do as well. It's not just meditating, but the main focus of it is to bring full peace full peace to themselves, a full self-awareness. And then let's look at the extreme of the ego. So I would look at the extreme of the ego being someone who is so fully into society that meditation is just not even a thought. Peaceful self-awareness is not a thing. Spiritual awakenings doesn't exist to them. And it's kind of allowing the thinker to gain whatever it wants, giving the ego everything that it could possibly need, not trying new experiences, not allowing yourself to go out there and really understand that there's more to society than just working. There's more to society than your friends. There's more to society than just experiencing little things in life. And those I would say are two extremes of one with the ego and one with without the ego, I would say. And so what you need in life is a balance. And it's like a tipping scale. If you look at it, one side, if you give one side more than the other, the negatives and positives switch completely. But if you can give a full balance of the ego, not allowing the ego to fully think and not giving it its full control, but also not you don't and it's kind of sad to say this and I don't want to come off and be like don't meditate like forever,
Yeah.
like don't become a Buddhist, don't become a like you're more than welcome to if that's something that you really want to find out about yourself. Like that's definitely something powerful. And I'm also not saying that giving the ego full control is a bad thing. It has its pros and cons with everything in life. Everything comes with pros and cons, and you just need to figure out the balance of what's enough. And for me, like for my meditation, I go on hikes. I love being in nature. I think the power of that nature and the energy that nature gives off is just absolutely breathtaking, beautiful. And it's free, Like you don't have to pay anything to just go for a hike, or for a walk. And so that is what I really enjoy the most about my level of meditating. I still try to be a part of society 100%, but I also try to take myself out of society and try to enjoy more of a peaceful spiritual awakening with not only because I feel like at some points in life you get so focused with everything going on in your life, whether it's work, whether it's your friends, whether it's the drama, whether whatever your family, whatever it is, I feel like sometimes as humans we get so lost in our brains that we never find the shut offs. Like we never are just like turn off.
Too lost in the
Mm.
sauce.
Too lost in the
Yeah.
sauce. Like you can say that, sure. Uh and I've been there and I feel like a lot of people have been there. And
Everybody's been there.
right, and I feel like once you get overwhelmed to the point, that's where the balancing comes into such an important factor because if you don't balance it, if you don't allow yourself to shut off sometimes and go for peaceful walks and go for more self-awareness, you kind of are going to go down in a spiraling direction. I don't know, Will. If have you ever felt like in a point of your life where everything was going wrong, felt like you were spiraling down, depression is hitting you in the face, anxiety is punching you left. What did you do to help really understand that meditation is the thing I need to be using? I need to meditate more. This is something that's not. This is something that's really good for my mental health.
For me, the meditation thing really opened my eyes to a new way of approaching problems. And kind of like how I said before with any other types of substance abuse, it's usually to block those problems out. You don't want to think about it. And that helps in the moment, but overall, you are not improving. You're stuck in that ego, that circle. You are not rising to that spiritual side of you and creating that spiral where you are constantly improving yourself. And once you reach that spiral, which meditation for me is what got me to that point of being able to balance the circle and the spiral, or the ego and the conscious, to improving my life and not just covering something up and going day by day, keeping it covered up and not thinking about it. It's hard. It's very hard to think about those things that may have brought you down to the bottom of that pit. But the only way to improve things and get better is to address those problems directly and understand exactly what those problems are, because they may look different on the surface but may be arising because of something else. And the only way that I found to get to that point was through meditation and being able to look at things completely from myself on the inside and cutting those layers deeper and deeper and deeper until I get to that core point of this is what I need to fix. Then I can move on to that next layer. Back, I can work my way back up. I can fix this layer, then I can repair this layer, and it keeps going until you are creating new layers. Kind of like how I think about it, like a mental shield. Like, now things are getting harder again, but you've already understood how to address these problems, and you can now address them quicker and fix them quicker. And it makes life a little easier having this understanding that your ego is repairable.